You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 121 of the College Loop Podcast. I am here joined today with Mr. Tarr and Daniel Locke. Daniel, how you doing, buddy?
Dylan, I'm doing good. It's opening night for the NHL. Rocking my Bruins sweater. They're tied 1-1 with the Chicago Blackhawks. And Brad Marchand's already given Connor Bedard a good old-fashioned Bruins welcome to the league, and you love to see that. How are you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing all right. The Canes are currently losing.
Has God intended.
Oh, that was a little rough. But the Phillies are winning, and the Dodgers haven't played yet as we're recording this. So, Tarr, how you doing?
Brandon Marsh just went yard. The Braves are getting pounded 10-2. Yep. This is episode 2 of a doubleheader tonight. I'm in hell. Let's talk about Auburn sports.
Yeah, and in case y'all didn't know, Auburn is playing LSU this weekend in the last installment of the yearly Tiger Bowl for the foreseeable future until the SEC finally mans up and adds another conference game to the conference schedule, which is all we need to have a permanent Alabama, Georgia, LSU rivalry every year, which I definitely think is very important to the fan bases to have those games every year. But just to get it started with this game, just to say, Takeo Spikes, by the way, let's throw it out there. He has Auburn winning this game.
Yeah.
And you'd be stupid to disagree with Takeo Spikes. I think he's one of the top 5 scariest players in college football history.
Well, we'll have to see what you and I say on tomorrow's show.
You will. But the question of Saturday is, who needs to step up the most for Auburn to walk in the Death Valley in a night game scenario and take down the LSU Tigers?
Well, for me, Dylan, it starts on the defense.
Offense and defense.
Well, it starts on the defensive side of the ball. And we just had a fantastic interview with a young man who's the sports editor at LSU's Reveille. And Peter brought up some really, really good points, Peter Rodriguez, about the fact that Auburn's not going to just straight up outscore LSU. And it starts with getting Jaden Daniels and company off the field, and if that's possible. For me, it starts with the linebacking core. And I know that I do this every week, right? Which you'll wind up going with the position group. But this is the most we're going to wind up seeing the really necessitated need for a QB spy. And Jaden Daniels can get the job done with his legs. I know you always the world of the just traditional pocket passers pretty much of the past, but this is a guy that's going to beat you with his legs as much as he's going to beat you with his arms. He is a dynamic passer, but equally as much a dynamic runner. I think it starts with the linebacking core being able to stay at home and play a good spy on Jaden Daniels and making sure that they're giving that DB room a chance. It's not that I don't think this DB room is competitive. I think that certainly serves to Auburn's advantage in terms of slowing down this LSU offense. But they've got to be able to stay at home, keep Jaden Daniels uncomfortable, and put him on the ground. And then that slides up to an individual for me, Marcus Harris. You've got to put Jaden Daniels on his butt. You have to. And it's not me saying go get dirty hits, but he's banged up. You've got to put him on his butt and make him think about it. And it starts, in my opinion, in the box for Auburn. Daniel, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going front 7. You got to get pressure. If you don't get pressure on the quarterback this week, it's over. No ifs, ands, or buts. If Jaden Daniels is time to throw, he'll kill you all game. So you got to figure that out. Offense, I'm going with the O-line. They did well against Georgia. I didn't really have many complaints. They did what they needed to do, and I feel like Peyton Thorne had time to go through his progressions more so than previous weeks. And that's one of the best front 7s you'll see. Definitely better than what's coming this week. So if they can do that again and the front 7 can get pressure, I got to say I like Auburn's chances.
I forgot to throw in my offense, by the way, Dylan. I apologize.
You're fine.
And Daniel, you bring up a great point. The offensive line is not where I'm going, but it's going to play huge factors. It is in every single ball game. Games are one of the trenches. We've heard this everywhere. That offensive line, if they can get Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford, whatever you may have, whatever package you're looking at, if they can make sure to protect that backfield and whatever that looks like, they're going to be in good shape. For me, it starts with Jarquez Hunter. I think on the offensive side of the ball, it's time for a Jarquez Hunter, hey, remember who I am game. Like a true, pure, this is the Jarquez Hunter game. And if he can do so in Death Valley on Saturday night, come game time, this is a completely different outlook for this Auburn ball club. And we spoke about this with Peter here just a moment ago, Dylan. If Auburn does what it does best, and folks, let's just be real. I just said it the other day on the Daily Drop. Auburn is a pure, hard-nosed, run the football team. It's that simple. That's what this club does well. They do not pass the ball well, and let's not just pretend like that's going to change overnight. It might, it won't, but it might.
What about over 14 nights?
Yeah. What about over 14 nights, right? But Jarquez Hunter coming in and doing the things that we know that he can do, getting downhill, getting in between tackles, running physically, breaking tackles, and getting chunk plays. If Jarquez Hunter is able to do that, it keeps the ball out of Jaden Daniels' hands because you chew the hell out of the clock, and that is what Auburn should want to do the entire game. And we're going to talk about this tomorrow. I'm going to mention on tomorrow's show a giant game of keep away. And Daniel, I think that's probably the recipe to success. Hell, it almost worked against Georgia. Jarquez Hunter is where that starts. This is a stable of running backs, I understand, but you need a standout game from them, and you need a couple tutties.
Agreed.
Yeah, if I'm going starting off the defense here, you get banged up. Masana Suleikite out for the season. Now you're looking towards the 5-star freshman to come in and replace him. Keldrick Fox, a guy I'm going to be keeping my eyes keened on this entire game because I want to see exactly if he gives us exactly what we thought we're going to get right away, or if he's going to take a little time to develop. And he's getting his first career start, and probably, if not the second most hostile environment in the entire sport. Keldrick Fox is a guy I would love to see like come into his own right away as soon as he steps onto that field. Offensively, this LSU defense very, very bad at stopping the passing game. Something again, like you said, Auburn doesn't do very well, but I really need a Shane Hooks big time performance to kind of go up and get it, give a security blanket to because you have to pass the ball to win games nowadays. And this LSU front seven, for as bad as the secondary is, the front seven is not bad. So you're gonna have to pass the ball a little bit. And Shane Hooks needs to have that game that we've been waiting for a hot minute now to really show himself. I mean, Luther Burden had a standout performance against LSU last week. And it seems like a wide receiver always has a standout game against LSU, and it's time for Shane Hooks to finally step up and do that.
When you look also at key points in this game here, Dylan, I'm flipping to the defensive side of the ball again. I apologize. You're absolutely right about the Auburn receiving core. You got to exploit the fact that the LSU secondary, let's be honest, folks, for the first time in a really long time, the LSU secondary kind of reeks. And I'm being sincere when I say for the first time in a very long time. Let's look at the Auburn secondary, who does not reek and is quite the opposite. You've got a guy in Malik Neighbors that you can't guard him. You have to. He's damn near unguardable. There's got to be some guys that make plays, and by that I mean your DJ Jameses and your Nehemiah Pritchett's and your Kyan Lees of the world, and your Jalen Simpsons, which by the way I'm going to touch here in just a moment, something that he needs to get done, but that are going to have to lock up one of the most dynamic receivers in college football. If Auburn can do so and make LSU a little more one-dimensional, Tigers have a good chance. Excuse me. The Auburn Tigers have a good chance. I feel good in saying the Tigers are winning this game. Let's talk about Jalen Simpson for a second here, folks. Country's leader in interceptions. You got to have one come from him on Saturday. I mean, it doesn't have to come from him, but he's got to come up with something on Saturday. Jaden Daniels, excuse me. Gosh, having two elite quarterbacks with the names that close to each other should be illegal. Jaden Daniels does not throw into a lot of mistakes. Auburn's got to find a way to do so. But since he does not turn the ball over through the air, guys, where can another turnover come from? Who forces the fumble? Who forces LSU to into a 4-and-out, which I would still classify as a turnover or not a turnover and downs rather, in like an aggressive situation? Who could step up on the defensive front and say, "Hey, we got to get the ball back because let's be real, we're not going toe to toe in an offensive boat race with this team."
I'm looking at Eugene Asante. You brought up the linebacker core is going to have to be a big component of this game. Eugene Asante, without Austin Keys back until who knows when, it's going to be Asante and Larry Nixon Those two guys are going to be the key part of trying to find a turnover whenever the secondary isn't going to get one or can't get one at that moment. And that's just going to be a key component is just making sure that Eugene Asante is in the place where he needs to be. And honestly, Zion Puckett is the guy I'm really looking at as well. You talk about the secondary and what Justice needs to do. I mean, help defense is going to be a key part of playing a safety. Malik Neighbors really, really freaking good. So is Brian Johnson Jr. You can't let either one of those get open in space. So, but to answer the turnover question, Eugene Asante.
Yeah. Well, what's the difference between a buck and a bite, though? Sorry. Anyways, Daniel, to put a nice little bow on our LSU conversation here before we talk a little bit more about Auburn football and Auburn recruiting, we gave our scores as we recorded our pregame show earlier today. It is time for your Auburn LSU score. Give me your breakdown, scores, and why.
I've got LSU winning. I think it's going to be more defensive than anticipated, but I think LSU gets it done 2017. I think Auburn will be competitive the whole game, but just kind of like the Georgia game, I feel like they're going to just out-talent Auburn at the end, and I think Auburn drops a 3-3 on the year.
I think that's on the table, and for those of you guys who have not, I guess if you would already have listened to this show before you listened to the pregame show, but for whatever reason, if you missed that and you're listening to this show retroactively, you'll hear my takeaway on that. LSU's got a lot to play for. Not that Auburn doesn't. Auburn absolutely does. Every single game matters in this conference, and I am not naive to that. But the door's still open for LSU to win the West if they get a little bit of help. Now, if they beat Auburn on Saturday, they will be the biggest Auburn fans in the world coming down the stretch because Auburn can play a lot of help to the Bayou Bengals. There is an element of an LSU night game and a Brian Kelly team with the backs against the wall that cannot afford to lose another game in the conference playing an Auburn team that's on the come up right now and in the middle of a rebuild under a first-year head coach, and that very well could be suffering a bye week / we almost beat the number one team in the country hangover. That's a real thing. So the intangibles there, I don't think play in Auburn's favor. But when I put pen to paper, I feel a little differently.
I believe Josh Pate calls that playing in wounded animal mode. Just back into a corner. It's fight or flight. You gotta stay a little cautious of LSU here.
I think you're cautious of LSU regardless. They're a ranked football program right now, and I know there's a lot of speculation. There's some people that think that they shouldn't be in the top 25. I think they absolutely should be. They've got 2 quality losses. I mean, let's be honest. It's a tough league. And
1.5.
1.5. Okay, sure. But let's look at Florida State. I mean, a lot of people think that they're a premier team in the country. I'm reluctant to agree, but still a quality loss on that record. And that club is a lot better than how they're playing right now. And Dylan said 1.5. Ole Miss to this point has been a phenomenal program in 2023. You can cry about it all you want. Are they going to lose a couple games? Yeah, sure. But they're going to lose a couple more games rather? Yeah, sure. They are one of the premier teams and still very much in the hunt in the SEC as well, which we'll talk about that next week when we come down the stretch to what Dylan will coin Ole Miss Hate Week.
Dylan, every week is Ole Miss Hate Week.
Something else you hate to see, a decommitment from the class of 2024.
Yeah, Auburn lost the commitment of one of their 4-star defensive backs to Lewis Solomon. I'm trying to pull up his 24/7 as we speak from Elville, Georgia. It's as simple as I just think he really loves South Carolina. It's hard not to love a team that's maxed out at 6 wins a season. It's good for him. Bowl games every year, maybe. Probably not. Maybe 2 out of the 4 or 1 of the 4. But yeah, Auburn lost the commitment to Lewis Solomon. Huge loss for all you casuals out there. But Auburn still has a lot of great defensive backs in this class, and they're still going after one of the top defensive backs in the state of Alabama. And Caleb Harris, safety from Thompson High School. So get a little plug in there to get their quarterback.
And let's not forget, not many people think that Auburn's out for KJ Bolden yet.
Exactly. But yeah, Julie Solomon. It's a loss that hurts the rankings a little bit, but not so much that you should be very upset about it. This stuff happens all the time and recruiting and everything.
And everyone knew that you couldn't keep this whole class intact.
Yeah, and everyone knew. Everyone was kind of shocked as a whole when Jaleel Solomon committed to Auburn. Because it was like a 50-50 race between Auburn and South Carolina. But I guess, yeah, like I said, he just loves him some Beamer ball. But I mean, look at the defensive back class again. I mean, you still got Jalen Crawford. You still got Jaden Lewis, who's a absolute freaking monster on both sides of the ball. Then you have Amon Lane as well. Kinsley Foston's still in this class, and his class ain't done yet. I mean, everybody in this class is going to be a game changer as soon as they step on the field. But Caleb Harris from Thompson is a defensive back Auburn is looking at to replace the loss of the decommitment of Jaleel Solomon. So I wouldn't be too bitter about it.
Let's also not forget that Jaleel Solomon loved South Carolina. When you look at the Auburn DB room right now, that's probably like the only position group on the field where you're like, I'm probably not going to make an immediate impact now, just because there's so many bodies ahead of you. I think you still would, but there's still so many bodies in front of you. So that is probably one of the tougher sells on this team if there was such a monster. Right now, you're trying to sell the brand, I understand, but the DB room is probably the most congested area.
Yeah, of the positions that we have committed, I'm A-okay with losing one defensive back.
Yes, no more.
If we start, I don't want to lose any linebackers. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose DeAndre Carter. Don't want to lose Walker White, Bryce Kane, Perry Thompson, and I don't want to lose anyone else. Really.
Yeah, literally nobody else.
But I'm okay with losing like one defensive back because that means that we're just so loaded.
Auburn's so loaded at the defensive back room, Dylan. It's got me feeling loopy. Just being honest.
Feeling very loopy.
I'm just being honest. And
all over the place, really.
And honestly, there's just a T-shirt that I could be wearing right now that would project how I feel. And that's the College Loop War Report Podcast Network co-branded Feeling Loopy T-shirt. You can pick that up at www.thewarreport.com. Only $25, comes in 5 different colors. Most comfortable T-shirt you will ever own. 10 out of 10 Daniel Locks recommend this T-shirt. They say it's the most comfortable shirt that they have ever owned. And we certainly appreciate your ongoing support. If you guys want to go pick up the T-shirt, make sure you use hashtag Feeling Loopy when you post a selfie on Twitter, and we'll throw it up on the next stream, whether that be live stream, post-game show, or just one of our regular old episodes. Just boring old normal us. I know sometimes that it doesn't have the pizzazz, it's outside the loop, but it'll be just as fun, and we certainly appreciate your support. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell on this video so you can stay up to date on everything on the College Loop if you're watching on YouTube. Yes, Dylan.
Forgot to add in. We talked about we did this on the last recording, but leave your predictions for the LSU game, and the closest prediction will find their way. Well, the score will find their way onto the next episode of the College Loop.
I would like to add a caveat. Only if you can prove that you're subscribed to the College Loop. If you give us a score prediction and you're not subscribed, I'm not throwing your score up on the screen because that's something you could quite easily do.
And so we haven't said his name all episode yet. Robbie Ashford scores 3 touchdowns, by the way, against LSU.
Yeah, you had to throw in the
throwing it out there in case everyone misses the next.
Friendly reminder before we move forward, and we're about to talk Auburn men's basketball right here on the College Loop. Got a lot of NBA players we're going to talk about here in just a moment, and Auburn alumnus, but. On the topic of liking and subscribing to the video, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button because Colin on Saturday has to start what's the word I'm looking for? Fasting again until you guys get us up to 700 subs. So do Colin a solid. He really likes food and likes to eat. So let the man eat and ring the bell while you're at it. So you can stay up to date everything we've got going on here at the College Loop. All right, gentlemen. Auburn men's basketball right here on the College Loop. Auburn has 6 players that are beginning their NBA preseason on this fine evening. And we're going to walk through them. I'm just going to name off real quick. And let's talk about who has the biggest 2023 campaign and who has the most to prove in 2023, 2024. So your candidates are your usual suspects: Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler, Isaac Okoro, Chuma Okeke, Sharif Cooper, and JT Thor. I want to know from you guys who, in your opinion, will go around the horn for the first question, and we'll go around the horn for the second, but we'll do them one at a time in order. Who has the biggest 2023 campaign in the NBA of the Auburn alumnus? Daniel. Your opinion.
So, for the first time, Chuma Okeke is going to be one of the featured names on the Orlando Magic. He's going to see an increased number of minutes, and he's just going to be more involved. So I think that this is the year, and the fact that, it's a time in the NBA when it's very loaded in the West. In the East, a little more breathing room. There's still a lot of stars in the East, but I think this is the year that Chuma Okeke finds himself not in the All-Star game, but in the conversation to be on the bench for it.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think Chuma could have a potentially very, a career year for him for sure, just on minutes alone, just on opportunities there. I'm going with Walker Kessler. and I think Walker Kessler's an NBA All-Star this year. Man, the Utah Jazz won the hell out of that trade. Let's go ahead and accept that first and foremost. And it wound up benefiting Walker because the Jazz wound up being this feisty young team with a good young core. I think he's got the pieces around him that Walker Kessler really could have an NBA All-Star appearance this year. Maybe not starting, like you mentioned a second ago, Daniel, but I think that he'll have a legitimate, solidified case to be on the bench for that squad. Another kind of under the radar pick for me of this group. Really think Isaac Okoro could wind up being on the All-NBA defensive watch list this year. I think that could really happen. Lockdown defense has got to get better at three-way scoring or three-level scoring. I know that he's running out of time on that developmental piece because the NBA is not patient, but I do think he's got a lot of upside still, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Dylan.
For sake of how good we look on graphic, I was gonna go Walker Kessler, but I'm gonna let you have him. I'm gonna go Bari. I think Bari had probably the best preseason out of any NBA player that played. Not preseason. What's it called? When all the young players play.
Oh, the FIBA World. FIBA.
No, the preseason for the NBA, but it's just for the young.
Oh, Summer League.
Summer League. He had 2 games at Summer League where he looked like an absolute monster. I think you're going to see a continuation of that.
He was a grown man playing with boys.
He was.
Yeah.
Even though he's younger than most of them.
I know.
But Bari's got a new number. He's got new number. he has his old number back. He's got a tattoo. He's got a sleeve, right?
Which looks sick, by the way. Looks great.
Awesome. And it's going to look really cool as him and Walker both go into the All-Star game together. And it's going to be really awesome to watch that happen as well. Watching them 2 play again with each other again is going to be just watch a little tear coming down the outside of my face. But yeah, Bari is going to be who I think is going to be the he might have a chance to win Most Improved Player.
I think that's on the table. Absolutely. Let's talk about who has the most to prove. And there's a handful of really good answers. Just by a show of hands before we get into this. Who here is going to say Sharife Cooper? So, Daniel, you were going to say Sharife Cooper.
Yes.
Okay. Dylan, were you going to say JT Thor?
I was actually going to go either Chuma or Okoro.
Okay. So we've got a handful of answers here. I'm going to open it up with Daniel here. Let's talk about Reef. And let's have this as a discussion here about Reef. Reef's getting his chance this year to actually make an NBA roster for real. Daniel, why and how does Sharife prove that he belongs in the league, and why does he have the most to prove?
Well, this was guy very highly ranked coming out of high school. In the quarter of a season, he got an Auburn Tigers uniform. He did great. Made an instant impact in his first game, almost led Auburn to an upset over a very, very good Alabama team. Then he went to the draft. A lot of people thought he should have stayed. I really think that if Sharife Cooper plays with Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, that team has what it was missing. Everything it was missing embodied in Sharife Cooper. I really think that team gets it done. But, you don't always get what you want in life. So was a second round pick, could have been a first round pick. Definitely had that potential. But yeah, I think this is the year that he has to prove that he didn't stunt his development when he left Auburn early, and that he does in fact deserve all the hype that he once had.
There's also an element, guys, tell me if I'm wrong. This kind of feels like the last chance for Sharife Cooper. And I know that may be a little bit of an exaggeration. He could float on a G League roster for probably forever. But this feels like if this is not the go-round where Sharife Cooper gets on an NBA floor and gets opportunity to get minutes and plays good ball, it's probably the end of the road for his professional basketball career. Auburn fans, don't come at me. I'm just saying the way the league works. It is a cutthroat league. In my opinion, probably the toughest to make it to the top of the professional sports, just in roster size alone. One of the toughest, if not the toughest, to stay at the top of. I think this is the last opportunity for Sharife Cooper. And that's kind of why I asked you guys off the top of your heads there who y'all were going with before I kind of went with my option, because I think there's really 3 solid choices here. And Dylan, I'm going to let you go here in just a second. I'm going to go with JT Thor. You want to talk about a guy that was given a little leeway last year. Saw some minutes, also saw being floated up and down and just watching his team play from the sideline. JT Thor showed flashes of greatness at the collegiate level and then really showed off what he can do in the professional level last year in the handful of opportunities he was given, but they were few and far between. We're about to find out if JT Thor is actually going to be a for real NBA player in terms of being able to produce on a nightly basis, or if this guy was one of the most overrated college basketball players or basketball players coming out of high school, maybe ever. It's and I know that sounds super, super dramatic. His ceiling that a lot of people thought of like NBA borderline perennial all-star was nowhere near what his ceiling's nowhere near where we thought it was. But I do still think he's got in him what it takes to be a nightly contributor in the National Basketball Association. If he gets the opportunity, the leash is short. This is going to be the year that he, in my opinion, outside of, I still think Reef has the most to prove, but outside of Sharif Cooper, JT Thor is the Auburn alumnus? No, former Auburn Tiger with the most to prove in the NBA.
I would say he came in he played not even a freshman year because
Yeah,
he was like 16 or something.
right.
17, but whatever. Yeah, I like both those answers a lot. JT is a guy I've never really been high on anyways. I never really thought
I wasn't high on him when he was at Auburn, to be honest.
Yeah, I never really thought he was like going to be the dude wherever he went. I thought he could have been if he would have stayed another year. You know, he still would have been the same age as everybody going into the draft if he would have waited a year. That's the
He
perks
still would have
of
been young.
exactly. The perks of reclassifying. Reef is a guy I thought about saying Reef, but then again, I'm probably the highest on Sharif Cooper than anybody in here because during the summer league, I literally said I think Sharif Cooper's going to play his way onto a NBA roster to the
He
chagrin of
still
everybody.
hasn't done it. He still hasn't done it.
I mean,
He's played his way onto a preseason roster. He has not played his way onto an NBA. He's got a hoop. He's got a hoop.
he can hoop.
I'm not disagreeing, but he has to hoop coming down the stretch this preseason.
But a player I'm going to go with Chuma Okeke, a guy who hasn't really seen a full season yet. And Chuma, talented player, great player all around. I cry every night to the thought of what could have been in that March Madness. But now that he's going to start seeing more playing time, he's going to see himself as a probable starter. He's to prove it. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to prove that this young Magic core is going to be worth keeping around for the foreseeable future. I just need to see. I need to see what that Disney patch can do for Chuma as a starter.
He does get to play next to Paolo Banchero, which, I mean, hate him. You can hate him all you want. Dude is as advertised. There are pieces in Orlando that should prove that they actually are kind of competent and trying to rebuild right now. But go ahead.
My favorite part of the last NBA season was telling all the Magic fans that Paolo Banchero wasn't the best rookie in the league. I was like, oh yes, Walker. And they just got very upset.
Yeah, they would get upset, but I still maintain that you're correct. Oh my gosh, what Walker Kessler did last year was spectacular. Okay, there's our predictions for my expert knowledge, ball knowledge of the NBA that I don't.
We are under 30 days away from Auburn basketball.
I know.
Both.
Auburn women's basketball plays basketball this month. Just saying, not real basketball, but pretend basketball.
Well, men's basketball plays AUM, I believe.
On the 1st, right?
Yeah, on the 1st.
Yeah, well, women's basketball plays on the 31st. Just saying, we have Auburn hoops. They're pretend hoops, but they're real hoops this month. Side note, can I just live ask you guys a question? Daniel, you're still in school. Maybe you have the answer to this. Why did Auburn go away from tip-off at Tumors?
What? How much money do you think I make to where I would know the answer to that?
I don't know. I just felt like maybe you would hear through the grapevine, you know?
No, I don't know.
Maybe because last time they did it, a potato man walked out and said that we got Georgia here this year. And said that basically they were going to beat Georgia.
Okay.
Last time I went, at least. I don't know. That was the last time they had it.
Yeah, it was. Last time was our senior year of college. They only had it twice, I think, because of COVID once, which sucks. Bring that back. Anyways, tip off at Tumors was awesome. Anyone who's like, oh, I couldn't see, bro, shut up. All right, it was cool.
Dylan Cardwell wearing a crown, walking around.
He had the scepter too in the cage.
Yeah, I have pictures of that.
That did happen. So that was super, super fun.
Keep an eye on that for thumbnails later on in the future from basketball.
Right. Yeah, for all the times that I give praise to Dylan Cardwell. Anyways, let's throw out a huge birthday shout out real quick, gentlemen, as we're recording the show. I know this is going to come out the day afterwards, but friend of the program, Auburn baseball legend, Ring of Honor, Baltimore Orioles AL Rookie of the Year, and Baltimore Orioles Ring of Honor, Gregg Olson. Congrats, you're old. I tweeted him today, and he said, sucking up, you trying to get an A? You already graduated. I was like, dog, I was just being nice, but all right, Greg. You had to come at me like that. Auburn baseball, fall ball should be this month, right, Daniel?
Yep. Game next Friday against Bama. I don't know about the other game. Oh wait, no, it's November 4th against wanted La Tech in Biloxi, Mississippi.
I like how Daniel's like, I don't know, and just spits out everything, every single fact about Auburn fall baseball.
First pitch is at 6:30.
Sometimes I forget that I know things that I do know.
You see, this is why I asked why Auburn discontinued tip-off at Tumors.
Well, that I don't know.
I just had to ask. I had to find out. Auburn softball's got a doubleheader on Sunday. They'll play Coastal Alabama and Enterprise State at Jamie Moore. Okay, gentlemen. The real question. Is it do you throw Maddie Penta? I don't think you even throw Maddie Penta.
She hasn't been throwing at all either. Let Emma Rolfe get comfortable. Let the two freshmen get comfortable, and just let Amelia Larck.
Annabelle Weedra's still throwing, right?
Yeah, she is, and she's batting too while she's pitching. So, you just let the depth show why they should say depth, or show why our depth is important in the pitching rotation. So we don't have to waste Maddie Penta's arm every weekend. And let
it's made of rubber.
Break. True. But we do have a softball player who wants to come on the show. She just needs to respond.
That's right. If you're listening, we won't name drop, but come on.
You play first base. Come on.
Yeah, you play first base. You are filling a gap that is yeah.
You were transferring in from Maryland.
That's right. We not to be specific, but like if we were being specific, like come on the show. Okay. Question, Daniel, opinion. And I've always found this kind of interesting. So we see every sport at the collegiate level has some kind of off-season scrimmages, whether that be the A-Day game for football, whether that be the overseas trip that you get once every 4 years for basketball, whether that be baseball, softball, and fall. In your opinion, how much does that really play to a benefit of a program? Because I feel like it's a long way off the season and you really don't know who you have.
I mean, it's aside from football, like that's a separate thing. But like with the baseball and softball and basketball, it gives you a chance to compete against someone who you don't see every day, who you aren't a roommate with, who isn't one of your best friends. Because, if it's a script like, Harrison, I'm a renowned defensive back. You would have been a good wide receiver in your day. If we're going against each other every day in practice, but, everyone who watches this show knows how good friends we are, we're not going to give it your all because I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to moss you. I'm not trying to embarrass you. You're not
competitive enough.
Yeah. Well, anyways, in practice, you're just not going full speed anyways. So for the other sports, it's just the mental aspect of going hard against somebody who, isn't a teammate. And then for A-Day, that just seems like one of those things that you need to do. I don't think it's really overly beneficial.
Agree.
You don't really learn at all what you have from it, but it's a chance to play in your main stadium. And I don't know. That's not a very in-depth answer, but it's just kind of what came to
No,
mind.
I mean, it is inherently different, like you said. I think for softball, for me, I think it might be more valuable to the coaches. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's figuring out, like, no penalty for messing up. It does not matter if you lose, you won't. But, like, does not matter if you do.
Well, I feel like that's not just softball. Like in baseball, if you have a close game and you throw someone out there to pitch an inning,
Yeah.
you just see like, okay, can they handle coming in to hold a 1-run lead? Can they not? And
Yeah, it's kind of how I feel too. Can I throw in this pinch hitter in this situation? How do they operate under pressure?
Yeah.
I get it, and I'm not dogging on it. I mean, look, if Jamie Moore has the gates open and they're playing softball, I want to be there. But at the same time, I've always kind of been like, just feels like a great opportunity to get hurt. But they're practicing anyway, so I don't really know what I'm on about. Moving on to soccer, they'll take on Texas A&M at home on Friday night. They're looking to build off their big win over the number 6 Hogs. See if that's doable, if that's a one-time fluke. I've got my feelings on that. I won't expand. But that's neither here nor there. Volleyball's traveling to Knoxville on Saturday to take on, I don't know why it says this, on Tennessee in the Orange Country. So have fun with that one. Auburn Volleyball, absolutely on the up and up. Big time win last week, continuing their trend upward and toward NCAA tournament play as we come down the stretch in this season. And SEC tournament play, rather, correct? I'm not tripping. There is an SEC volleyball tournament, right?
I think that starts next year.
Okay, just kidding. And trending toward, I thought it was this year for whatever reason. Okay, sorry. And then equestrian will take on number 10 UT Martin on Friday at 10 a.m. Did not even know UT Martin had an equestrian program until today.
They're dogs.
Yeah, apparently they're goated. So, well, they can't be goated when you're taking on the horse school. But all things considered, that is all we've got today for the College Loop. Daniel, tell everybody where they can find you, love you, and support you.
You can catch my written work for 1819 News, the Auburn Daily, or Braves Today. You can follow me on X or Twitter at Daniel J. Locke right there. And you can follow the Bruins on Instagram at all lowercase Bruins.
I'm Harrison Tarr, by Harrison Tarr on the Bird app. If you want to come hang out with me, if you want to support the College Loop, there are 2 ways that you can do it. We appreciate them both. The first way is easy. The first way is free. And it is the most important and valuable way you guys can support us. That is like, subscribe, and ring the bell to the show. Make sure you are following us on all of our social media platforms. Dylan's going to plug here in just a minute. Make sure you like, subscribe, and drop a comment on today's show. Let us know what your thoughts are on the Auburn LSU game, what your thoughts are on who has the most approved for Auburn basketball alumnus in the NBA as they begin their season. Throw a little shout out, happy birthday shout out to Gregg Olson. Everyone shout out Gregg Olson in the comments. Show him some love. Go make sure you hang out with him on Twitter. And the second way that you guys can support us is by the hashtag WarDamn shirt, as Colin Byersdorf is saying. That's on thewarreport.com, www.thewarreport.com. Comes in 5 different colorways. When you purchase the shirt, use hashtag Feeling Loopy. Go on Twitter, take a selfie, put it on yourself, put it on your dog. We don't really care. We'll throw it up on the show anyways. And as a reminder, if you give the best score prediction, the closest score prediction for the Auburn LSU game, we will make sure to share it on the show as long as you are subscribed. Thank you guys so much for listening. Your support means everything to us. Make sure you give us 5 stars, thumbs up, smiley face, whatever platform you're listening to, whatever the best rating is. We certainly appreciate it. I want you guys to know that we don't. Your support does not go unnoticed, and it is not unbeknownst to us how much you guys mean to the program. Dylan, tell everybody where they can find you. Love you, support you, and then let's get out of here.
Of course, I'm Daniel Locke at your boy the Tank on Twitter /X Rex. Of course, it's just right there at your boy the Tank at YABOY the Tank. Also have an Instagram at Dylan Larck at DYLANLARCK. And of course, if you want to follow us here on the College Loop, we have us literally everywhere on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. Again, right here on YouTube. Just like, comment, subscribe, leave your picks for the Auburn LSU game. Leave your picks for who's going to be the best Auburn player in the NBA this year. Leave who's going to be who's the best Auburn player in the MLB in the NHL. There's not. I don't think there's a single.
There's no one in the NHL.
But just in case there is, choose that one. Who from the Auburn club hockey team is going to be the next NHL star? So on and so forth. And of course, if you're tired of watching the video version of the show, I completely understand. I get tired of seeing Tarr's face too. I am number 1. Thank you, Tarr. I can read through your microphone. You have us on the audio versions as well. We're at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. And of course, with all of that and everything being said, this has been the College Loop podcast. As soon as I find the ending, there it is.